Imhotep, African family, and welcome to Building the Lighted Temple Wisdom Service. For the purpose of the recording, I am Dr. Nteri Nelson, a KeMetaphysician, a licensed clinician and educator, and co-founder of the Academy of Kemetic Education and Wellness. So I welcome you to this Sunday's Building the Lighted Temple Wisdom Service. It is in the midst of these troubled times, beloveds, that we come together once again. We're blessed to come together in this etheric space, this virtual space, this universalizing resonant vibrational field that we have been cultivating, and we'll see in future videos as we go deeper into understanding this World Wide Web and this internet that we move within and can come in rapport with and come into a meeting space. So once again, we come into this virtual space where we may amplify our vibration and distribute the light. This is liberated space, beloveds. And yes, once again, we come together as we're making this dimensional shift, as we are shifting between ages, shifting in pole star, shifting from times more material to times more spiritual on our planet. And beloveds, even as we speak, we are witness even today to now the precipitation of what I've been calling the number of pandemics, now the sixth of prominent pandemics on our planet. And as I have talked about in other videos, that first pandemic, which has gripped our planet and the consciousness of our planet, is that pandemic of white supremacy, white fragility. And that pandemic has had a 3 ages long grip now, starting in the Taurian age, then in the age of Aries, then now in its last phases in the age of Pisces, which I have extensive videos on YouTube that go in greater detail. And the second pandemic, after this 6,000-year white supremacist fragilist grip has had our planet, is the COVID-19, which ripped the Band-Aid off of all the disparities that had precipitated on our Earth during this last 6,000 years. The third pandemic is the impact of this supremacist paradigm, this fragilist paradigm that has impacted the inhabitants of our planet. So we now have moved to our fourth pandemic of war in Ukraine. And we as a human family watch anxiously to see if the decision to use nuclear warfare would take effect. And fifthly, as we all can see daily in America and through conflicts throughout the world, the pandemic of gun violence in our nation, and we see this war within war in other parts of the world. And today we hold in our awareness the precipitation now of the sixth pandemic, the war between Israel and the Palestinians, whose fighters are the Hamas. So we see this war with Ukraine and Russia. We see this gun violence in our streets daily. We see this war now between the Israeli and the Palestinians. So we come to our wisdom service today, whose title is Cosmogenesis, cosmic universe to our planet Earth, the journey of unfolding consciousness. And we begin here because it's so important that we are cultivating that first eye that can pull back in our awareness into this wider angle view and really examine the time that we're living in and what is required of us on this planet in this collective consciousness so that we may move into the new world, and that's not to suggest in any way that the old world is going anywhere. We're just we're hitting that refresh, and we're going to be moving into this whole dimensional shift. So today, we want to begin that movement in the beginning as we look together and as one at our Genesis story as conveyed by our African ancestors within the ancient wisdom, the ancient Kemetic wisdom texts, our primal origin texts. So we will re-immerse ourselves in the primal waters of Nun, what our African ancestors call the Nun, the waters of space, and where a detailed examination of cosmogenesis of creation is given. We will be moving in that cosmogenesis, that creation story, from the arising of the cosmic universe to our planet Earth. And you'll see as you continue to come to these wisdom services, which you're encouraged to do, that you will be aided in developing the first eye to guide our sight. We need to develop the first eye, which this video will talk about, that I'll show in a moment. And we'll be diving deeper into all of this subject matter from the primal beginning, from the source that our African ancestors have given us of our Genesis, so that we may have from that angle, that fuller angle vision and view, the capacity to be here now in our planetary journey and see what is indicated. So developing this first eye so that we seek to glimpse the journey in unfolding consciousness. You know, we want to see what's happened as we've journeyed out, and I will be bringing everyone to Earth with a thud, which I'm fond of saying, as we view these seeming racial types that now populate our Earth, these seeming racial types that, if we go to any urban train station, we can see a glimpse into the human family in any urban populated area. And so we're going to be sessions, we will be looking more deeply into the seeming racial types that have populated our Earth. And as we do this deepening examination in the midst of this human collective planetary consciousness admixture, yes, beloveds, we want to be able to glimpse within this human collective planetary consciousness, and it's an admixture. It's a planetary admixture in consciousness that is now prevailing on Earth. we certainly are seeing the conflicts that are happening betwixt and between this planetary admixture on our Earth. And beloveds, I wrote about these things 25 years ago. I've been at this a long time, and you'll see in the video in a moment the humble beginnings that are even more humbling now. But 25 years ago, I wrote this book, Ka-Aba, Building a Life Temple with the Metaphysical Keys to the Tree of Life, that speaks to this journey of unfolding consciousness and the cosmogenesis and cosmology from what our African ancestors have taught us about our Genesis story, and where we have come up to this point. They have given us the pathway for our psychological and spiritual unfoldment, that we may build the light temple, even in the midst, especially in the midst of these troubled times. You'll see in this video, it's a video from the beginning of the Building a Lighted Temple series, which began in April of 2021. And currently, the Academy has just an archive of lots of videos. And so the work is to get these videos out. And it's just been in these recent months that we've been coming live to you, like today. And that's going to increasingly be the format that wisdom services that were more in private, wisdom services that took place but haven't made it on YouTube or out of the archive yet. So we are going to be going live to make this information available. And we ask that you, beloveds, become a member to help support our efforts to continue this service. So you'll put the link in the chat. You should see the link in the chat. And if you're not an Academy member, please consider making a donation at PayPal to Dr. Nteri Nelson at gmail.com. And beloveds, I will, pretty much guarantee you that if you are consistent in your attendance, you will develop the first eye to see more clearly the journey of unfolding consciousness. And as you continue to come to this service, you will see the evidence of this in those who have been participating and have made the commitment and are steadfast in that commitment. You just see that eye that now sees and beholds. So at that point, I'm going to just take a check and see if we have comments here. Okay, we have some comments. Okay, yes, Hotep, everyone. Okay, so folks are here. Okay, so I'm going to begin this video. Of the soul, the journey. So enjoy. And today, beginnings, our Genesis story. And today we're going to take a deeper plunge. You know, our African ancestors they gave us this wisdom. They were masters in the science of the soul, the journey of the soul, and the journey of unfolding consciousness. And they were in, and because we're the original people, millions of years old, we were in thousands upon thousands of years of observation. For example, 25,920, one precessional cycle, our African ancestors observed, and then to watch that cycle again to make sure they were certain of what they saw. So just to give even a glimmer of all that awaits us in these studies as we take and trace back to our primal source, back to our primal wisdom sources, so that we may fulfill our life service and purpose in this incarnation. You know, we are particles of light, and we have been journeying a long time to arrive in this moment. And so we want to remember our beginningless beginnings. And anytime things get tough out here, we want to be able to re-immerse ourselves in the beginningless beginning, the primal waters, the Nun, the waters of space, and all the wisdom that our African ancestors have given us. You know, we are at all levels in these studies. I, for example, have been at the studies decades long, but I always feel dwarfed as the more I study, the more I learn. It isn't that what I think I know grows. What grows is how dwarfed I feel in the magnitude of what there is to still learn. And I hope that you are able to bring a similar perspective and awareness. You know, I know there are some folks who walk around and say, oh, I got this. I don't feel like I have this. And I'll show you my well-worn, tattered books that I have to tape, that I've had 40 years and still haven't begin to fully and deeply appreciate what our African ancestors have given us. I mean, these are well-worn copies, and I hold them near and dear. So we are going to take that deeper plunge in these studies, in this service. And I do encourage everyone to come each Sunday and we're not a church, but you know that if you go anywhere more often, you're going to have more exposure, and you're going to be able to deepen your wisdom more rapidly than tapping in here and there. So I hope you will take this deep plunge in these studies, and that will reflect in your membership. And you'll also invite others to this life-giving water, this life-giving breath. This is what our African ancestors have given us. Do we appreciate, family, that we're going to be talking about cosmogenesis, the beginningless beginnings? Our African ancestors conceived of the one conceiving. And then this information went out into the world that others would borrow from, or as George James would say, steal, without any attribution to its African source. Our African ancestors were masters in their union and communion with nature, the storybook of the stars, and everything in their observation on Earth, and seeing things with an activated first eye, to see things in fullness rather than just in part. So please put your questions below so that we can answer them as we go along. We are going to, as we begin these studies, we are going to be focusing within the new, focusing within what is Ra, focusing within what is Khepera, focusing what is Shu and Tefnut, focusing within what is the eye of Ra, and focusing within what are the children of Geb and Nut. So I'm going to share my screen with you in a moment. And as I begin to do so, again, our primary text is the Pertimru, which, as you know, would erroneously be called the Egyptian Book of the Dead. But today, as I have shared with you, we will look at many primal sources, primal texts. And so today, our work will focus in this book, the gods of the Egyptians, or the nature of the Kemites. And don't worry if you don't have this book, I'm going to pull up the excerpts from it and direct you to the pages that you'll want to look at on your own. So let me just share my screen with you. So as we begin these studies, what are we looking at? We are looking at our creation story. And our creation story, you can locate our creation story in this text, the Book of Knowing the Evolutions of Ra. And you can find this story on pages between 313 and 321. And what I'm going to, and there are two versions of this story. And so I've excerpted from those versions, version A and version B. And we are going to just bring our eyes now to this text. In another wisdom service, we will look at the Medunetter and the text. But for now, we'll just begin here. And why is this important today in today's world and with all that's going on? Family, I know how to bring you to earth with a thud, where we can look at all the trauma and the anxiety and the depression and the worry and all the things that are concerning us in this planetary sphere of our earth. And yet, to be able to, with ease, move within the noon and re-immerse ourselves into this stellar midst, this fiery midst from which we come, is our healing nutrient. Our African ancestors have given us the pathway to do this, so this is what we must do. So we begin with these words from this papyrus, the Book of Knowing the Evolutions of Ra. And we've been learning in our first month of wisdom service that it is Ra who is speaking. It is who is known by many names, but we begin with Ra. And so one of the names of Ra is Nebuchadnezzar. So we begin with the words of Nebuchadnezzar, the Neb, Lord of the universe, and a form of the sun, God Ra, which he spoke after he had come into being. And Ra says, we want to go right to the source, Ra says, I was the creator of what came into being. I am he who came into being in the form of Khepera. I was or became the creator of what came into being, the creator of all what came into being. After my coming into being, many were the things which came into being, coming forth from my mouth. And when we shift to version B here, we read, I came into being in the forms of Khepera, coming into being in primeval time. I came into being in the forms of Khepera. I was or became the creator of what came into being. That is to say, I produced myself from the primeval matter which I made. I produced myself from primeval matter. My name is Osiris. So we see that Ra, Nebuchadnezzar Ra, Asura. We've also learned Hedakuta Ra are the names of Ra. My name is Asura, the primeval matter of primeval matter. I brought into my mouth my own name, that is to say, a word of power. Now think about that, family. I brought into my mouth my own name. So imagine what happens when we go back to the primal naming and speak those names in our prayer, because this is the creative vibration and force and source through which universe is hurled into space. I brought into my mouth my own name, that is to say, a word of power. And I, even I, came into being. Our African ancestors are magnificent as they have conceptualized. They, in their spirit, have been so poised that there's just been this downpouring of, in spirit, of the whole template and mechanism of the creative process. So, beloveds, I want to add here, and we'll get to this diagram in a moment in the presentation. But as we re-immerse within the waters of Nun, and we are seeing in detail the arising of universe, the cosmic sun. Know in this cosmogenesis there, as I've already said, there are other names: Atum Ra, Amun Ra, Ptah, Osira, Ra, the universal Ba, the cosmic sun egg. And what we are seeing in this papyrus is the evolutions of Ra, how out of blackness, nothingness, the boundless all in all, the Nun, the waters of space, the infinite, there is the arising of universe. And so let's continue with the story. I came, and I, even I, came into being in the forms of Khepera. Now we'll look at Khepera in a moment. In the forms of Khepera, of things which came into being. I came into being in the forms of Khepera. I came into being from the primeval matter, coming into being in multitudes of forms from the beginning. Not existed any created things in this land. I made whatsoever was made. Our African ancestors have written these beginnings. I was alone. Not existed any other who worked with me in that place. I made all the forms therein by means or out of the Ba, which is the divine soul. That which I raised up therein out of Nu, the primeval abyss of water, from a state of inertness or inert matter or inert mass. So what is Nu? And we've touched on this in our first month. Let's take a deeper dive. So the Nun is the inert mass, the primeval waters, the waters of space, the fiery mist, out of which arises creation, out of which stirring creation rises. These pre-stellarizing substance, this pre-substance that would become the substance of creation. And we hold in awareness that how does the Creator create? The Creator takes from the substance of itself to see itself in form. The Creator takes from the substance of itself to have consciousness in form. What else could the Creator take from except from itself? This is Nun. Also Ka, Nu and Ka are synonymous. We go on and read, not found I there in Nu, a place whereon I could stand. There's no standing place. There's nothing there. But Ra goes on to say that is coming into Ra. You see, family, we are putting all of this together as we go along. As we begin to move within our first eye, we begin to move spherically instead of one at a time, linearly, one thing after the next, after the next. So this is how this is being outpoured, one thing and then the next and the next and the next. But what we need to move to in this activation of the first eye is that we're able to see the pot. We're able to see the relationship between the pots, and we're able to see simultaneous all at onceness. And so I want to take you to Earth with a thud, because that's how we get real conscious here, is, you see, we are looking simultaneously in the beginningless beginning. We're holding the concept of Nu, we're holding the concept of Ra, we're beginning to hold the concept of Khepera. We want to hold the concept of Shu and Tefnut. We want to hold the concept of what is the eye of Ra. We want to hold the concept of the children of Gebenut that produce the children of this earth. And just like in that Rodney King video, is the thud, as that courtroom began to slice and dice that video up where you saw Rodney King flail an arm, and they labeled that resistance, so he was struck again and again and again. But when you see the whole picture, when you step back in your eye and you just see, you see that this is destruction and abuse taking place. This is not resistance. So what we have to do in that activation of the eye is recollect in consciousness so that we can see more fully and we can see more wholly. So we are called now to hold all of this simultaneously, even though I will speak about it one at a time. We're moving past one at a timeness into simultaneous all at onceness. So just flow with the story as it unfolds. We talked about what is new. And Ra says, not found I there in Nu. I mean, Ra hasn't even arisen yet, but in Nu, there's no place a place whereon to stand. I worked with the spirit, Kut, which was in my heart. Already at this level, our African ancestors speak to us about the importance of the heart, which is also the will. I laid a foundation before me. I made all whatsoever that was made. I was alone. I laid a foundation in my heart. I made the other things which came into being, and manifold were the things which came into being of Kepra, came into being what they gave birth to out of the creations of their offspring. So now we're moving to Kepra, that there's a giving birth out of creation of offspring. What is Kepra? Well, here is a picture of Kepra, or what is also our African ancestors looked in nature as symbols. And they looked at this dune beetle who would lay its eggs, and then it would roll those eggs into this ball, into this dune ball. And this, for our Kemetic ancestors, symbolized many things. The rolling, which was the evolutions coming into existence. But Kepra is like, when you dispel this word, and the keys to dispelling words are in my books, About Building on a Temple. This is this, when you dispel this word Kepra, it's like Ra keeper. It is in this doom ball. It is symbolic of the to be birthed lives, the to be birthed forms. So when we see the arising of universe, when we have the arising of universe, there, that star of all stars, we know that there are stars within stars within stars. And so this symbol of Kepra is the to be birthed lives that are indwelling this sphere, which is symbolic on a cosmic level of universe in total. And we'll see more of that in a moment, because we have some other factors, other nature that are coming into play. And we go on to read, even I spat or emitted Shu, and I emitted Tefnut. I became, from being one God, I became three gods. That is to say, from myself, two gods came into being on this earth. And we always see from the zero, the zeroing the sphere out of the noon, out of that cipher, out of that nothing where there's a rising, we have the enumeration begins of the one, of the two, and then to the triplicity. So here we see the arising of the three. From myself, two gods came into being on this earth. Shu and Tefnut were raised up there from out of Nu, the primeval abyss of water wherein they were. So what is or are Shu and Tefnut? And what is the eye of Ra? Now, Shu and Tefnut are, Shu is air and heat and light, and Tefnut is moisture. And these are the centripetal and centripetal forces that begin to be at work. Shu and Tefnut are the children of Ra. So in that primordial midst, that blackness, that deepness, that depth, the waters of space, we have this circumgyration in the waters of Nun, and with the centrifugal and centripetal forces of Shu and Tefnut at work, and the arising of the mound, or which would then be fecundated or fertilized through this circumgyration, this centripetal and centrifugal force, the arising of that fire of Ra, and the penetration of that mound, which is then the explosion of light and the arising of Ra within Nun. And we see this here when we ask, what is the eye of Ra? The text goes on to say, behold, they, Shu and Tefnut, brought to me my eye, the sun. In the train of a Hinti period, they proceeded from me. So we see the arising of the universal Ba, the universal egg, the universal eye that is out of the deep, out of the blackness, out of the waters of Nun. And this picture here, I have this picture here in many of the books I've authored as a humble symbol of the arising of that egg, that eye, that universal Ba, that cosmic universe, that cosmic egg out of the waters of Nun. And when we at first behold this eye, then we want to, in this cosmogenesis, we want to then understand as our African ancestors understood, because family, we've been talking in this first month about how our African ancestors saw Ra, the sun that rises in the east that we saw this morning, as a symbol that they patterned their lives after. And they knew, our African ancestors knew that as above, so below was above. They knew that that cosmic symbol that they could see on the horizon had its correspondence with that macro symbol that they couldn't see, which is the universe in total. They understood this. And so they understood that that whole stellarization that was taking place from the arising of the universal Ra or Ba or egg or eye, down through the super constellations, super galaxies, down to our solar system, down to our planets, down to our little Earth, and down to tiniest atom. There is that stellar substance in the tiniest atom. There is that stellar substance within the vegetable kingdom, within the animal kingdom, within the human kingdom, which is us. There is that stellarization, that star within star within star. There is eye within eye within eye. There is Ba within Ba within Ba. There is Ra within Ra within Ra. And so when we connect with the sun rising in the east, we are connecting with cosmos in total. And we are learning how to re-immerse ourselves into this stellar substance. And so when you come down this great scale of being, if you can see here that there is that nature that is informing Ba or Ra, that is Adam. There is that nature, God informed, that is informing man, that is informing our planet Earth. And here we have Geb as a symbol of our nature of Earth. There is that nature God informed that is informing the sun. there is that nature garden form that is informing all of the constellations and the super constellations, and so on and so on and so on, until we come to the universal Ba or Ra or I in total. So just to caption some of what's been said, beloveds. So here again, we see the arising out of the noon, out of the waters of space, out of the infinite, boundless all in all. What again in our cosmogenesis story has been called by many names: Atum, Atum Ra, Aman, Amun Ra, Ptah, Asura, the universal Ba, just the cosmic sun, the cosmic sun egg, Ra, the evolutions of Ra in our Genesis story. We see this arising, and we have learned how masterful our African ancestors of the Nile Valley were, in that they, by looking at all of their observation and watching the local sun on the horizon that we all saw this morning, they intuited the universe in total, which they couldn't see. And as they were going about their daily life, and their canvas, ringing. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Hold on. Sorry about that, beloveds. I'm in my office, so my phone, I should have taken it out, rang. Anyway, just behold that our African ancestors, whose canvas was nature, the nature all around them, and then the nature of the stars, the heavens. This was what they studied. This is where they derived their wisdom. This was their storybook. And they saw this doomed beetle, and they saw this as symbolic and representative, and just intuited. Imagine the leap to intuit that that just as within this beetle that had rolled its eggs, all its multitudinous eggs in this doom ball, in nature, and out of that doom ball would emerge the to-be-birthed lives. They intuited universe in total, and all the to-be-birthed lives, all the stellar substance, all the galaxies and super cosmic galaxies, all the stars, all the planets, all that was resident in this egg, this sun that would be birthed. And they intuited scientifically the forces that would contribute to the arising of this universal egg in their conceptualization of the twin forces of Shu and Tefnut. Sometimes when folks try to understand things African spirituality, they don't get what that doom ball is. They don't get it. They're not deep enough to get it. And when we talk about Shu and Tefnut, they don't get that. all of this is translatable in scientific terms. And as these wisdom services continue to come live, we are going to be talking with and to the physicists, because KeMetaphysician, the metaphysics precedes physics. And so even though our African ancestors used the terms Shu and Tefnut, they're talking about one and the same forces, centripetal and centrifugal, that interact, one spinning one way, one spinning another, causing this super gyration, this circumgyration in the waters of Nun and the arising of this mound. And in that circumgyration is the birthing, the coming forth of the fires of Ra, the Shu and Tefnut as the children of Ra, the fire of Ra. And it is that fire, that circumgyrating fire in the Nun, in the waters, that then causes the circumgyration of Shu and Tefnut, that centripetal and centrifugal force is causing the arising of the mound. And then it is the fire of Ra, whose spark penetrates, pierces that mound, fecundates it or impregnates it. And then there is this explosion of light and the birthing of the universe, which science would later call the Big Bang. So we have much to do in our work, beloveds, to show that our African ancestors were masters in the science of the soul and the journey of soul, masters in their observation of the heaven above and the earth below, and what was in between. So we give honor and attribution and recognition to the master mind of our African ancestors. So again, out of this in this cosmogenesis, all of this naming, Atum Ra, Amun Ra, Ptah, Osir Ra, Ra, Universal Ba, the cosmic sun, the cosmic sun egg, all in description of the evolutions of Ra out of the primeval waters, and how there is the universal Ra in total, the universal Ba in total, the universe, the cosmic universe in total, and all the to-be-birthed stellar forms of the galaxies, supercosmic galaxies, the constellations, the planets, down to our tiniest Earth, down to tiniest atom. And man and woman are Ra also. We are a stellarization, a stellar being from that primordial substance, that beginning and creation. And so coming here now, we read Shu and Tefnut give birth to Gebenut. Gebenut give birth to Osir, Oset, Set, Nebethet, and Haru Kent An Mati from the womb. One after the other of them they give birth, and they multiply in this earth. So what is our cosmic genealogy? And much of what you see here is also in this book that I've written, the African Cosmology of Kemet, because you can see how our symbols have gotten co-opted here. Of our symbols, Geb and Nut. And so we see the Kemetic cosmology, Geb and Nut produced the great sun egg. So when we come to our local level, we are looking at the sun egg, which is the sun on our horizon. Let me see some. So I want to just look at this. So this cosmology here. So here we can see, and I just want to take a look at maybe some questions here. Hold on just one second, please. Okay. This is so beautiful. So David asks, when reading this, it makes me feel that the creator was in a particular state of consciousness when white European people were created. Since we are all made from the substance of Nu, why was that particular aspect of consciousness allowed to come into being? Well, David, you asked a very important question. And I have written about this in Secrets of Race and Consciousness. There's so much more to our story that has to be told, and that we need to come into an awareness and an acceptance of. And that is that, and I have videos out here, that it is these three particular types of consciousness, universal, dualative, and particulate consciousness. And it is within unitive consciousness that we're able to see the whole. And it is, and I demonstrate this by using the first eye. David, I'm glad you asked that question. It gets us into this domain here. This is the symbol I use for the first eye, and what we are working for, and what that universal Ba is, this is the eye of Ra. This is the eye of the universe. This is consciousness in total. And we are working to have a registration of that eye on our particular level of manifestation. For example, if we go back here, let me first say what this is and then relate it to this diagram here. So on our individual human level, we are working to see not only the pot, like we can see this part. I love this ball because, you know, folks say, Dr. Nteri, why are you carrying around that disco ball? But it just is such a beautiful symbol. Because what we want to be able to see, family, is we want to be able to hold that perspective within this individuated mirrored frame. You see that individuated mirrored frame? And then we want to be able to hold our awareness with that individuated mirrored frame. And we want to be able to hold that awareness in relationship to this individuated mirrored frame, and so on and so on. And then we want to be able to, be able to stand within the center of that holding, and to be able to see each individuated mirrored frame in relationship to the other individuated mirrored frame. And this is how we move out of that linear consciousness, that pot, that one at a timeness, which at its lowest turn of the spiral is separative consciousness. And there is that in humanity that is polarized in that separative consciousness. We want to be able to stand in the center of this sphere and see this individuated mirrored frame in relationship to this, in relationship to this individuated mirrored frame, and in relationship to this individuated mirrored frame. And then we want to hold the relationship in simultaneous all at onceness. That is spherical consciousness. When we move out of linear consciousness, this one at a time-ness, that brokenness in consciousness. See, that's what's happened. We in the body of Osir, with the cutting into pieces of Osir and the scattering, there is a brokenness in consciousness. And we are in the process of putting ourselves back together again. Like Humpty Dumpty, we're putting ourselves back together again. And so there are those who are poised in, as I write about it in my book, Secrets of Race and Consciousness, in unitive consciousness. This is where our African ancestors resided. They were apprentices in the workshop, in the mind of the divine. They just beheld the full moving geometry. That's why they're able to give us this wisdom in these texts, because they beheld. Then there are those who are moving in this dualtive consciousness, which is this or that, or at its low, this at its higher turn of the spiral is this and that, but at its lower turn of the spiral is this or that. And then there are those who are polarized in that particular consciousness, whose lower spiral is separative consciousness, which is to affirm this, not that, or this as only that. And this is where we labor in our planet in terms of these three seeming racial types that now have externalized, have these three seeming racial types that have these three seeming racial types that have unfolded on our planet. And we talked before about how 60,000 years ago in the last glaciation cycle, our African ancestors went out and populated the world. And because of the climactic conditions, we see the emergence of these seeming racial types, which Ramesses depicts in the tombs. So this we as a human family are in experiments of reconstructing this I. And there are, and so we want, which I call in my book, the 3, 4, 5 consciousness, because this is all related to that angle that third, fourth, and fifth consciousness is all about how we are putting ourselves back together again. And so we are in this experiment. It's when we study at this level, we can enjoy the experiment more. If, you know, as absurd as that might sound, I mean, this is the journey of unfolding consciousness is a beautiful journey if we but understand the journey. And Europeans are fools if they think they can tell the story of the journey of unfolding consciousness with all inclusivity and necessary parts and pieces, without telling the greatness of our African ancestors, of Black race people, they are not able to tell the story because they are missing parts and are stuck on the part. Let me just see what else is here. Let's see. Okay, all right. The offspring of separativeness, linear consciousness, is white Europeans. But what is their purpose? Yes, absolutely, David. There is on a higher spiral a utilization of particulate consciousness, not separative consciousness, which is the lower spiral, but particulate consciousness. In other words, that particulate consciousness is a aspect of consciousness in which we are able to discern, discriminate at its higher spiral. There is a discriminating at a higher spiral that is part of our collective consciousness. It is just that when that consciousness has been lopped off, when the polarization in particular consciousness is lopped off and comprises one seeming racial type, then this is what we are looking at in terms of the appearance. All right, beloveds. Doing my technical drive here. It's a lot to maneuver technically. So yes, beloveds, and I would suggest that those who are in attendance and those who would view this later see the penetrative inquiry that those who have been coming to the Building the Lighted Temple services and to the Academy are able to engage in. Their question is, it would have us unpack volumes, their question alone. And so we are very much engaged here in deep penetrative thought. That's what our African ancestors gave us. There is this compression of thought in their symbol, in the representations that they used to teach, to instruct. The Ankh, which is behind me here on the wall, that's another power. All these are powerful symbols. The Netcher, Shu, Tefnut, Kepler, all are powerful symbols. They are not to be. They are to be understood on multiple levels. We have to understand them on multiple levels. And so what I want to do is just check in with some of the beautiful comments that have been here. Hope Tep, everyone. Great to see everyone. And I want to just say here, please do join us in membership at the Academy, where you will be able to join us each Sunday in holy awareness, in the spirit of the law of reciprocity, that you are supporting us to do what we do each Sunday. And so here is the link for membership. And you may also, and then Ra Moses here, I clicked on his Hotep, Ra Moses, great to see you. And we have Diane Waka, Hotep. And let's go, there's another Facebook here, don't see the name, but says, I'm from Angolan, beautiful, beautiful. We want to have folks from all over the planet come and join in our Sunday Building That Temple Wisdom Service. And here we have Tim, who, again, I'm just going to put up his comment. He says, Dua'u, powerful metaphor. It's as if Shu and Tefnut determine the weather, and the weather in turn dictates the topography and geography of the planet, Geb, creating matter and antimatter like a reciprocal relationship between seen and unseen. I mean, this, beloveds, is what we see as folks take the time to really be in deep meditation and study and attunement. They are the purveyors of wisdom. And this is what makes all of this so worthwhile, is that when you are in the work of helping folks to really cultivate that first eye, to be able to not only see, but to be able to say what they see, and to know when to say what they see. In other words, when to reveal and when to conceal, because all of that is about a wise walk too. So it's just amazing to move in this cultured space with those like Tim, like David, like others who are initiates. And you'll see as we continue in these studies to look more deeply into the planetary, the human collective planetary consciousness. We are going to, our first eye, observe what is happening in that collective consciousness. And it is that worldwide web now that is giving us a vantage point and angle and in which to really glimpse. But it's about the skill to really glimpse what the collective consciousness that we see within internet, and the ability to access and to glimpse and to see. And that's what we are working to do in these upcoming Building Lighted Temple Wisdom Services. And Andrea says, love my hearing and new understanding of these topics, never stop being amazing. And, you know, again, very, very, very advanced initiates among us. So we are just about that point, because we're there now, 12:15, and we are practicing as stewards, planetary stewards, in exactitude, being precise. We have places to go, people to see, things to do. So we are very co-measured, very potent in our studies, and then we are off doing our work in the world. So on that note, beloveds, I look to see you, each and every one of you, next Sunday. Please do tell others. Please support our academy by making your donation to PayPal, Dr. Nteri Nelson at gmail.com. And moreover, beloveds, become members, and this supports us at deeper levels. I think there's another comment. Let's see. Oh, okay. Uwata says, thank you so much, my dear sister. Peace and blessings. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all who have joined us today. Enjoy your day. Om Ujasanev, life, prosperity, and health.